Katherine Albrecht Show.
Raise a signal flag on a bare hilltop. Call up an army against Babylon. Raise a signal flag on a bare hilltop. Call up an army against Babylon. Wave your hand to encourage them. Wave your hand to encourage them. As they march into the palaces of the high and mighty. I, the Lord, have dedicated these soldiers for this task. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. And they will rejoice when I am exalted.
There we go. Katherine Albrecht here, joining you on KHNC and also on YouTube if you want to check me out on there. The bright light that you see coming at me is actually outside my window. I'm realizing I'll fix that if you're seeing me on video. All right. Wow, it has been a busy several days. On Friday, we had Kevin Sorbo, the actor who played the professor in God's Not Dead. And of course, many of you know him as Hercules from the television series a couple of years back. And he was on my show. It was an absolutely riveting interview. And I want to let you know that if you missed a portion of it on KHNC, it is thanks to JD and his working over the weekend. He's got it listed and up and loaded onto the archives. So you can find that on the archives at KHNC, 1360 AM in Johnstown, Colorado. You can also find it on my website as well. I did an interview on, I guess it was yesterday, with Brent Johnson of the Global Freedom Report with KRLA Radio in Los Angeles. And that was kind of fun because KRLA is the big AM talk radio station that I grew up listening to. Hang on, let me turn my volume up just a dot. And it was really fun to go on there and talk about the latest research. I have spent my weekend, and I guess when I wasn't doing 2 hours on that radio program, I'll post a link to it. He's going to put it up on globalfreedomreport.com, I think. He said it'll be up there within a day or so. But I spent my weekend, probably 8-10 hours of my weekend, going through the program, the 14-hour conference that I attended last week, I guess not last week, but the week before, at Harvard. The Harvard Medical School put on a 2-day conference, 14 hours in total, with some of the top assembled academic minds in the world to talk about the thing that I've been talking about on here for the last couple of months, which is religion and spirituality and its impact on mental health. And the recommendation from presenter after presenter, we had the world's top, let me see if I get this right, biostatistician. Those are people who take a look at biological research and take a look at mental health, not mental health, but the statistical robustness of the findings. And it was pretty cool to see Tyler Vanderweel, who is the top biostatistician, actually say it's not just an association between religion and human flourishing, health outcomes, lower rates of depression, lower rates of suicide, better outcomes with regard to social relationships and crime and divorce statistics and marriage well-being and all of these different factors. And it was pretty cool to see him come out and say something you rarely hear in research circles, which is a causal relationship. Normally, I mean, we've talked about this before. If you see that, eating a lot of potato chips is associated with depression, you don't know which one goes where. Maybe you're depressed and that leads you to eat a lot of potato chips, or maybe eating a lot of potato chips causes you to become depressed, or maybe it's a little bit of both. But in this research, because we now have decades worth of this research and literally thousands of studies that are longitudinal studies, meaning that don't just take a look at what's going on today, potato chips and depression, religious attendance, and OCD, for example, or anxiety, but looking at longitudinal studies, they have been able to determine statistically. Do I have that right? Yeah. He's a statistician. So statistically, they've been able to actually determine causality, that attending church, praying, believing in God, having a religion makes people, literally causes people to have better outcomes in their lives. And that is almost a first. I was kind of astonished, because it's very rare that you have enough studies and that they're robust enough that you can make a conclusion like that, that one thing isn't just associated with the other, but it's actually causing it. And so I enjoyed going through all of the presentations, the talks, the transcripts, the videos, the audio of everyone who took part in that Harvard conference, and putting together a pretty robust body of evidence that it's back, that religion is back, and it's hip to be religious yet again. So I'll be sharing that with you as I get it kind of all put together. Right now it's all chopped up in various pieces, but as I get it all together, there are some findings from that I wanted to share with you guys right off the bat. The finding that struck me the most in all of this ocean of evidence that believing in God and praying and attending church has a positive outcome on every measure they looked at, particularly with young people. Let me just share that statistic. I found it really interesting. Religious attendance, religious involvement, belief in God, prayer are associated with, for young people, with far better academic performance, with higher GPA, with a greater likelihood of actually persisting to graduation, with better grades, with more likelihood or higher likelihood of attending college, all of the measures that they looked at with regard to academics. But then there was a statement, once again, that just blew my mind, that in 100% of studies, not for most of these things, it was like 94% of studies or such that found this or that. In this case, 100% of the over 300 studies that they looked at, there's my pup, in 100% of those cases, they found that religious involvement for young people resulted in better mental health and physical health and social outcomes. 100%. I was kind of astonished. So these are the sorts of findings that you don't really see very often within academia. Usually people are hedging, and well, for the most part, or kind of, or it appears that, but this is a causal relationship. And the word 100% was actually brought up with regard to young people. So fascinating research. The other part I want to share with you is something I've mentioned on the program before, but Dr. Harold Koenig, who was a guest on my show in the past, he is the senior researcher in this whole field. He's really the person who spearheaded this back 20, 30, 35, 40 years ago. He is now, I think he said he's 75 years old now. So he's been at this for a long time, and he was talking about these findings back before it was cool to talk about them, back when he was ostracized, had everybody turn his back on him. Like picking up your tray at the lunch table in middle school and walk away, kind of ostracized, for his dogged persistence in talking about the importance of religion in human flourishing. And I love that phrase. The research that he's done took decades, as he talked about on the show. You can find it in my archives. Koenig, Koenig. He's written multiple books and hundreds of articles. He's really the person at the top top of the field. And in his presentation, he said something that I have found in the literature myself, and that is that it is truly religion, not spirituality. This field has come to be called S/R, spirituality religion, or R/S, religion/spirituality. But what he has found is that it's actually religion. And religion is defined as something that has been a set of spiritual practices, a set of spiritual beliefs that is community-based, that has more than one adherent. You're not just making up your own concepts, but you are tapping into a cultural vein that's been there historically and has typically a book and a set of beliefs that is standard. And what he pointed out in his talk is that it is religion, not necessarily spirituality. All right, I'm your host, Dr. Katherine Albrecht, and talking about religion and spirituality, and I will be right back. Stay tuned.
Why are most email programs free? Companies use them as bait to lure people into their system so they can scan their data and sell them to advertisers. It's like a hotel giving out free rooms so they can film people sleeping and then sell the video. You'd never agree to that. StartMail restores your privacy. No one but you sees your sensitive data, and it costs less than a postage stamp a week. StartMail.com. It's email you can trust.
Look at the birds. Look at the birds. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time.
All right, I'm back. Katherine Albrecht here. Had to fix my light. So, yeah, regular long-time listeners know that my cat is, she was there a minute ago. My cat was in the background. My dog is a 110-pound German Shepherd. He is now probably 11, 12 years old, and he is literally not able to stand up now. It's, please say a prayer for him. His name is Alpha. He's a very sweet dog. And you might hear him panting. He's in a bit of pain. He's got the usual German Shepherd back legs that have arthritis. His hips have a lot of trouble. So that's why he's in here. And if you hear him barking or whining or making sounds, that's the reason. I just didn't have the heart to make him leave. In fact, I tried. I said, it's time to walk out. And he literally couldn't stand up. So it's hard. it's hard when you have a pet, and you have a pet that you love, and he's just not doing good. So, all right. I was talking about Dr. Harold Koenig, and one of the things he said that matched what I had also read in the literature, and that is, by the way, when I say literature, that doesn't mean like English lit, like your senior year of high school literature class. Literature is the, I guess, the academic word for all the studies, all the stuff that's been published. And so if you're an academic, or if you're going through academic research, you refer to it as the literature. So you can say the literature shows blah, 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 blah. Or you could say, we did a summary of the literature on this topic. So when I use that phrase, just so you know, my doctorate from Harvard University is in human development and psychology, but I'm not a practicing psychologist, like a clinical psychologist. I'm a research psychologist. So what I was trained to do in school was research. So I've read a lot of literature. Okay. So when I talk about the literature, what I had found and been finding in the literature on religion, spirituality, and mental health is that spirituality on its own, it's a very trendy phrase, and it has really only been around, I guess, since the rejection of mainstream organized religion in the, 1960s, 70s. That is when it became trendy and cool to say, I'm spiritual but not religious, meaning I've rejected the idea of organized religion. I've rejected the religion of my parents or previous generations. I've rejected the religion that has caused so many problems in the world. It really has. The clergy sex abuse scandals within the Catholic Church, or the list goes on, all the way back to the the Crusades. You can find many cases in which religion or people organized under the banner of religion have done truly appalling things in the name of religion. And so it became very trendy to say, I'm spiritual but not religious, because your alternative is to say I'm an atheist, right? Most people, I think it's like 94% of people worldwide, believe in something beyond ourselves, believe in something, that it's not just an atheist world where it's all materialist, but the majority of people on planet Earth feel in their hearts and in their spirits that there's something more to us than just this physical reality. And if you feel that way, which the majority of us do, and you do not want to be affiliated with organized religion, then you could say, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. Here's what the literature shows, though. Here's what the studies that have actually looked into that have shown, and I've talked about this on the show before, but Dr. Koenig really drove it home. If a person is spiritual but not religious, they have a far greater likelihood of experiencing mental health concerns than if they were atheist, than if they're just secular. So the rates of depression are higher, the rates of phobia are higher, the rates of anxiety are higher. And when I say higher, not higher than the people, well, they're certainly worse than the people who have religion, but they're significantly worse than the people who are atheists and don't believe in anything. And there's a reason for that. The literature doesn't go into the reason why, and there's some conjecture. They make some guesses about why that might be the case, that you don't have the support structures, for example, that you would have by attending church. You don't have the friendships, you don't have the backup, the social backup, the history, all the various things that go into making a religion more than just a set of beliefs, but actually a social practice and a sort of social safety space, I suppose, that spiritual people don't have that. But I'm going to propose something else, and that is that I truly believe, and the Bible backs this up, and my own experience backs it up, and probably yours does too, that there's more than, in the spiritual world, there's more than just God and the Holy Spirit and Jesus and angels. There's more than just good stuff, but there's some pretty dark stuff out there floating around. We know from Scripture that we do not battle flesh and blood, but principalities and rulers in high places. That is the rulers of darkness. So if you are spiritual but not religious, if you've made a decision to reject Jesus Christ, if you've made a decision to reject God the Father, and yet you still want spiritual guidance, then the place you're going to get that spiritual guidance is I don't know, through maybe Wicca, maybe through Satanism, maybe through tarot cards or astrology, or other forms of attempting to communicate with the spirit side of things without God. And if you do that, you will communicate with something. Something will communicate with you. You will be connecting to something, but that something will be on the dark side of the force. And so it is not surprising to me that people who are spiritual without being religious, who are just casting about at random for any kind of spiritual connection they can make without God, and who have chosen to reject God or reject traditional religion, they're going to do poorly. And that is pretty much across the board. Every measure that they looked at for people who are spiritual but not religious were worse off, like I said, than the atheist. Because an atheist isn't really looking for spiritual guidance at all. I've said this before many times on the show, that if you have not made a choice to change your citizenship, then you are by default, simply by being born into this world, you have a citizenship card with the devil's picture at the top of it. Just like when you were born into, I don't know, Colorado or Ohio or Massachusetts or Florida, wherever you were born, you got a citizenship card that said United States of America. You didn't choose that. It just happened from where you were born. And if you're living on this planet, which all of us are, and you're born into this planet, which every one of us have been, then you are automatically under the sovereignty of the prince of this world, and that is the devil himself. And if you do not make a conscious decision to repent of your sins, because we're all sinful, if you do not make a conscious decision to turn your heart and your spirit to God, and by the way, when you do turn your heart and your spirit to God, you're going to go, because you're going to realize how short you fall from his expectations. And then, this is the beauty of Christianity, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can kind of tuck behind Jesus and face God directly. And when he sees me, he's going to see his son, and I'll be forgiven. So that's really how Christianity operates. But people who have not made that decision, who haven't changed their citizenship card to Christianity, really struggle when it comes to mental health, and they really struggle when it comes to reaching out for spiritual guidance. So either they will say there is no God, in which case they still have that citizenship card and they're still under the sovereignty of the devil, or they say, I'm going to cast about for some other kind of spiritual guidance, in which case they're very openly communicating with those dark forces. So either way, whether you are operating as just an atheist overall and not reaching out, you're still being influenced. Is that song I used to play it on the show all the time by Bob Dylan? You got to serve somebody. It might be the devil, it might be the Lord, but you got to serve somebody. You may think that you are on the throne of your own life. You may think that you're the one in charge, but there's no such thing, really, because we are, I suppose you're in charge of what you choose to do with your physical body from one moment to the next, but in terms of your spiritual life, you're not in charge. There either will be that default in charge of the prince of this world, or you make a conscious choice to put the Holy Spirit in charge of yourself. So all of this research that I've been going through and finding has just reinforced what I already knew to be true. And it's so cool. I can't tell you how great it is to see my colleagues from Harvard University, to see people from schools all over the world, academics, who have traditionally been so opposed to religion, and to see them all wholeheartedly embracing religion. Not only the research, the literature on religion, but also their own faiths, their own origin, their own families of origin, their own religious traditions. And to see people no longer be ashamed and feel a need to hide their personal religious involvement, but to actually bring it to bring it to the forefront, talk about it. There was a panel. There was a series of workshops. There was a workshop where we had some really phenomenal academics talking about their personal religious backgrounds. There was a Christian woman, a Muslim woman, there was a gospel singer. A lot of people just openly coming out and saying, I don't have to hide anymore. It's so fantastic. It's really awesome. So I'm a big believer in that. The other statistic, and this is what I want to spend the second half of the show talking about, the other statistic that came up over and over again was on substance use. And people who have a religious orientation have far lower rates of substance use, whether that substance is alcohol, whether that substance is tobacco, or whether that substance is marijuana or harder drugs. So across the board, we found that involvement in any religion, I don't think they looked at Eastern religions. I think they looked at, I don't know, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, what I call the religions of the book. Not just me, but that's what they're called. People of the book, descendants of Abraham, that all three of those religions really frown on the use of substances, especially to achieve any kind of spiritual enlightenment. That's just a bad idea. All right, I'm Katherine Albrecht. Coming back, we'll talk about marijuana and scromiting. Screaming and vomiting? What the heck? All right, stay tuned.
Is your box overrun with spam? With a StartMail account, you'll never have to give your real email address to a stranger again.
You've got
Online
a text
shopping,
message.
newsletter
Are you able
subscriptions.
to
$13.60 KHN.
Hi, sorry, we're live.
It is
on
100%
Facebook.
THC.
Or
Hey.
we're live on YouTube, sorry. Yep.
Due time. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time. Casting all your care upon Him, casting all your worries upon Him, for He cares for you. He cares for you. He cares. He cares for you. Stay alert, watch out for your great enemy. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Stand firm against him and be strong in your faith. Casting God is in this place, truly. God is in this place, truly. Incredible, wonderful, holy.
And back. Still trying to figure out how to talk to JD during the breaks, but JD, I did hear you, and I have my text window up here. Let me see if I can see if I can figure it out. You know, I always struggle with the texts. Let's see, Catherine, this is who is this from? I only know the area code here. Do I? Hang on, let me see if I can do this. Nope. 308 area code. That's all I know. Hi, Catherine. So sorry about your dog, but if you will try Ruff, R-U-F-F greens, get a trial bag for free. Just pay shipping. Glenn Beck had the same issue with his German Shepherd. You know, so my dog Alpha has been doing wonderfully because about 6-8 months ago, he started to develop kidney problems. And I found, I'm going to have to get the bottle and I'll bring it up and I'll hold it up for the camera so people can see what it is and I'll read the ingredients. But I found it on Amazon and I put it in his food every day. And it has absolutely changed his kidney function to where now his breath is not urine breath. It's disgusting, but that's really what the kidneys do, is they filter the waste products out of the blood and put it into the bladder where it gets eliminated from the body. And if the kidneys aren't able to filter the blood properly, then it accumulates all of that urine kind of stuff, that uric acid accumulates in the bloodstream, and the only way it can get out of the body is through the breath. So my dog was, he would come over panting and he'd want to be petted in the morning and be breathing in my face. And it would be like a men's urinal at, like a gas station. It was really bad. And I got this incredible product. And so I've been giving him that. I also make his food. And I've thought, all those YouTube, TikTok, whatever, people who take a camera and actually have it in their kitchen. I've thought, boy, I should show people how I do this. I buy chicken legs for $1.09 a pound at Aldi. They're super cheap. And I put about $10 worth of that into a big, huge pot, and I cook it for 2 days on low. I bring it to a boil, I turn it all the way down to low, and then I cook it. And the reason I do chicken legs is because they only have 2 bones per leg. There's the big drumstick bone, and then there's a little, they call it a pin bone, that little sharp bone. And when I used to do this with whole chicken, I would be picking bones out until I thought I was going to, I've never wanted to see another chicken bone in my life, but with the chicken legs, it's easy. And so I pull that out, and then I also get a wonderful pot full of bone broth. Some of it I put aside, and I use it myself in cooking and to make soups, and the rest of it I give to him. So every day, this lucky pup gets fresh, this is his breakfast every morning, he gets fresh chicken from chicken legs that I've cooked for 2 days. He gets the broth on it. He gets about 2 cups of quick oatmeal from Aldi. I put the 2 cups in there, stir it around, microwave it for a minute or so just to keep it from being cold because it comes out of my fridge. And then I add the glucosamine chondroitin, which is good for animals as well as people for our bone health and cartilage, etc. I give him 2 Beano tablets because if I don't, I can't even stand to be around him because all of this stuff creates a little bit of gas, and dog gas is pretty hideous. But that works. I put the scoop of the kidney supplement, which is incredible. And in fact, I ran out at one point, and after about a week, the smell came back, and I was like, oh, this really is helping him. So if I ever skip a couple of days, then that odor, that urine odor on his breath comes back. So I know this is keeping him alive. So he's not on pharmaceutical products. It is herbal and all natural, formulated for dogs. So I will take a look at the rough greens as well, but I think we're getting to the point where supplements, I also give him an older dog supplement by the same brand. And it helps, but I think we're getting to the point where he's it's just structural. I'm not sure that supplements are going to continue to do it. But thank you very much for writing in with that advice. And so I've thought about just taking a camera and going, here, let me show you guys. show you how I do it. Buy my chicken, throw it in, pull it apart. I think I will. I'll try to do that. All right. Let me get back to what I was talking about. So religion is positively associated with staying away. Is that right? Can you positively associate with a negative? Anyway, people with higher rates of religious involvement are much less likely to use drugs and alcohol. And I fall in these rabbit holes. I learned about something called scromiting this weekend, and I spent a couple hours just reading everything I could find about it. It turns out that for people who use cannabis, whether it's edibles or smoking it, vaping it, however they get it, after about 10 or 12 years, so long-term users can develop something called scromiting, which is vomiting, hyperemesis. Emesis, like an emetic, means you're barfing something out. Hyperemesis means you're hyper vomiting. And this, it's cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS. And this is on the rise. In fact, lots of emergency rooms around the country are seeing a huge increase in the number of cases of people showing up vomiting uncontrollably. And the one thing they have in common is long-term cannabis usage. Now, one woman, and I watched a bunch of videos. I mean, I went deep on this. So I watched a bunch of videos. One woman said that she started using cannabis in her teens. She's now in her 30s. And it took them months to diagnose the reason why she was vomiting. They tested her for GERD and gastrointestinal issues, and gave her all kinds of other, like Pepsid and proton pump inhibitors, and tried to do all these various things to help her. And she, like many people, would smoke marijuana in order to calm the nausea. And of course, when she did so, she would start vomiting even more. And so it took her a while to figure this out. And this is really the story with a lot of people. So if anyone listening here knows of someone or is someone who is a longtime cannabis user, 10 or 12 years or more, and is having uncontrolled vomiting, it can actually kill you. It can literally end your life if you're not able to stop vomiting, because your electrolytes get out of whack and your whole system can go haywire. So let me read just a little bit about this. So I have 3 articles up here that I want to share with you. One is from The Hill, and the title here, Cannabis Hyperemesis Syndrome Cases Surge in Virginia. What is it? All right, this is February 2026, so this came out last month. This is just now beginning to get some attention. Emergency department visits linked to cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, CHS, have increased nearly 29% over a 5-year period in Virginia. According to some healthcare association, the annual adult emergency department visits for cases of cannabis abuse, dependence, poisoning diagnoses, and CHS all rose during the period from 2020 to 2024. Now get this, this is just Virginia alone. There were 25,000 total visits associated with CHS specifically, not 25,000 visits associated with cannabis use and the problems associated with it, but 25,000 visits over a 4-year period in the state of Virginia. And these are just the ones documented. Who knows how many other people went and didn't get diagnosed, or went and were diagnosed incorrectly, or just didn't make their way into this data set. This is huge. I am stunned at the number of people suffering from this horrific syndrome. And the reason it's called scromiting, that's the the slang term for it, is because not only are they vomiting, but apparently at the same time as vomiting, they're also screaming. So this is quite a horrific syndrome to have, where you're unable to stop vomiting and screaming at the same time. Sounds pretty terrible. In addition to the 25,000 visits in just the state of Virginia alone during that 4-year period, there were also, get this, 172,778 adult emergency department visits for cannabis abuse, dependence, or poisoning between 2020 and 2024. Holy moly. Yeah, that's wild. That's a lot. 172,000. The peak is 37,690 in 2022. So nearly 40,000 visits in the state of Virginia alone. I'd have to do the math and kind of divide that out over how many days. Right? I think that's like 1,000 visits a day over how many hospitals? I mean, that's nuts. This is high. Right, CHS is a condition with symptoms that can cause recurring episodes of severe nausea, abdominal pain, and vomiting. They do not know what causes this. This is the part that's kind of wild. They don't know. There's not an understood mechanism whereby 10 to 12 years of cannabis use can result in this kind of an outcome. They don't know why it is, but it happens. Some have referred to a combination of CHS symptoms, screaming and vomiting, as scromiting. The screaming can be brought on by intense pain, the Cleveland Clinic explains. Treating CHS, basically there's only one treatment: stop using marijuana. Really, that's what it comes down to. There is no real cure for it. They can treat it. They give you liquids. They give you fluids. They give you an IV because you're probably dehydrated because you're barfing. But basically, bottom line, you got to give it up. You got to give up the weed. All right, stay tuned. Katherine Albrecht. I'll be right back.
Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Casting all your care upon him, casting all your worries upon him, for he cares for you. He cares for you. He cares. He cares for you. Stay alert, watch out for your great enemy. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Stand firm against him and be strong in your faith, casting all your worry. For I have chosen you, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up.
All right, I'm back. So I want to talk just another moment about this scromiting hyperemesis cannabinoid thing that apparently is on the rise. And then I want to share some other concerning news about marijuana use, that it turns out it's not the panacea of safety that its proponents have claimed it to be. There are a lot of health problems coming up in association with it. All right, so let me read you just this one. This is regarding a California study that links cannabis vaping to potentially deadly disorder. The deadly disorder, of course, CHS, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, that can leave users violently vomiting for days. Now, this is not just a little bit of vomiting. This apparently is vomiting to the point where you can barely get to the car to get to the hospital. It's really bad. The researchers found that people, get this, who used electronic vape cartridges developed CHS much faster than people who smoked marijuana or used edibles, right? The findings, one of the study's authors said, the findings combined with increasing vape usage constitute, quote, a massive public health concern. This is on the rise. This is to the point where if you have, what did we say, 25,000 in 4 years in one state alone, and those are just the ones that are reported, the number of people who turn up in the emergency room vomiting their guts out and their doctors have not yet figured out this CHS syndrome exists is probably really high. It's probably a much higher prevalence. All right, according to our recent study findings, those who utilize vapes alone are hitting it more often throughout the day and developing CHS symptoms sooner than those who smoke, years sooner. So the difference between an edible or smoking marijuana versus a vape is that the vape cartridge is just sitting there. It's not smoldering. You don't have to light it. It's just sitting there. And unlike an edible where you've got to kind of think, okay, how long is this when is it going to take effect? How long is it going to affect me? The vape cartridge is just sitting there. And so people are using these vape cartridges, marijuana users who are using the vape cartridges are consuming far more marijuana than people who are smoking or using the edibles. The study was based on 1,130 responses to a digital survey sent to people who experienced CHS. There's a lot of people out there with this problem. They found strong statistically significant associations between vapes and developing CHS sooner. All right, so this goes on and on. There's quite a bit more on here, but basically, I'll read the conclusions here. Many cannabis users say that the THC is, they deny that it could be causing the nausea. Instead, they blame the vomiting on cannabis that's contaminated. However, other studies that I looked at say that that seems to not be related. All right, so that's a long, probably more complicated than we need to get into here. It says, if it's just tainted weed, then everyone who bought from a particular dealer or that one store would get sick, yet only some people are getting sick, said Peterson, one of the study's authors. The authors are not against using cannabis, and they're personally not trying to stop people from using vape cartridges, but they want to inform cannabis users of this. Okay, so that is just something that we need to know about. Now, this particular study, this is out of UC San Francisco, troubling new cannabis health risk. Marijuana edibles may not be as safe as doctors had previously thought. This study came out, that's from last year. Researchers at UC San Francisco published a study that found troubling cardiovascular risks linked to using cannabis, even for people who avoid smoking it entirely. Now, in the past, we have thought, we being, modern science, has believed that the cannabis problems with the cardiovascular system were related to inhaling smoke, because we know that inhaling tobacco smoke causes cardiovascular problems, and we also know that people who live in areas with a great deal of smoke in the air pollution, that they also have cardiovascular problems. But it turns out in this study that they found it is actually the marijuana itself, regardless of how you get it into your system, that is causing cardiovascular problems. Let me read this. This particular study looked at people in the Bay Area to see if their cardiovascular function was different depending on whether they did or didn't use cannabis. They looked at people who smoked it, used edibles, or didn't use it at all. The research found that regular cannabis users, both edibles and cannabis smokers, had reduced cardiovascular function and an increased risk of developing premature heart disease. The study joins a growing body of evidence that chronic cannabis use could be damaging the cardiovascular systems of the users. Daily marijuana use is associated with a 25% increase in risk of heart attack, a 42% increase in risk of stroke. But this is the first study that looked at people using edibles and compared it to smoking. Here's what they found. Even people using only edibles without smoking were still showing cardiovascular damage. All right. Let me see if I can give you how they did it. All right, here's how they tested it. The UCSF study, that's UC San Francisco, tested cardiovascular function with a two-part test. First, they conducted an ultrasound of an artery in each subject's arm to see how blood flow changed after being constricted with a blood pressure cuff. The ultrasound study found that both cannabis smokers and edible users had arteries with lower dilation rates compared to people who abstained from cannabis. Then they looked at blood serum from test subjects to see how it related or reacted to endothelial cells. Now, those are cells that regulate blood flow. They found that cannabis smokers, but not edible users, produced less nitric oxide levels. That's an indicator of cardiovascular health, and similar to
Couple of texts.
tobacco. All right. Let's see down here. So basically, they restrict, they put a blood pressure cuff on you, they restrict the blood flow, and your veins and arteries are supposed to dilate, meaning get a little bit wider because you're constricting them. And that function of the cardiovascular system just wasn't working properly in people using marijuana, and the edibles apparently were even worse. Let's see. The Massachusetts medical doctor said in an email that this raises important questions. Yeah. The subjects were all regular users who used cannabis at least 3 times a week, and the cardiovascular harm was stronger for people who used more THC each week. That is a sign that even using less cannabis could spare users from the heaviest cardiovascular harm. It really does seem the more you take, the worse it is. All right. That joins a growing number of studies of just medical problems associated with continual cannabis use. So what we're finding is people who use it several times a week are winding up not only with physiological problems with their cardiovascular systems, but are also winding up with a host of mental health related issues. Let's see. I think I got some text here. Doc Albrecht, it's called vulture breath. Okay. That sounds disgusting. Vultures eat carrion, dead meat, and so vulture breath, I think that's referring to my dog's breath, my dog Alpha. Let me go back here. All right, got another text. Oh, this is for me? Paraquat? Sorry, I think I'm hearing you, JD. I think your mic is open.
Uh-oh.
Hello, I hear somebody there.
Hello?
Hello, hi, who am I speaking to?
This is Dino Costa. How are you?
Hi, Dino, are you calling into the show? Are you the next host?
No,
What's
ma'am.
up?
I'm on right after your show. I'm sorry for this mix-up.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, just
apologize.
mute your mic. I'll be done in about 3 minutes. So
Will do. Thank you, ma'am.
thank you. All right.
Sorry.
Nothing like live radio. All right. I apologize. I'm not sure I can understand this. Paraquat, I think, is the comment there. I would assume that that is related to the hyperemesis or the cardiovascular problems associated with cannabis use. The problem is that it's not universal. If you have contaminated marijuana, it's not causing these problems in everyone. It really seems like an effect of long-term usage. All right. Final. Let's see. If the HC, I don't understand these texts. The HC system has virtually no credibility regarding diagnostics. How can we grant any credibility to their statistical observation? Who funded these studies? This is I'm not sure which studies you're referring to here. If you're referring to the studies on marijuana, these are medical studies, and I don't believe that there is really any funding for them other than the public health studies. But we can take a look, find out. Who would have an interest in funding a study like this? There's really not a financial benefit to be gained for finding these downsides. I don't know. I will look. I'll check it out. All right, come to the end of the show, and our next host is already chomping at the bit to come on the air. It's Dr. Katherine Albrecht. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, thanks so much for listening. God bless you all. Bye-bye.